Just popped up on the phone.
Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome.
Can I make a point of order? It was agreed that the Mayor would be chair of this committee. Now this is the first meeting with the official Maddox since it's been registered, isn't it? And I know the Mayor's not here tonight, so I think the Deputy Mayor should take the meeting, Peter.
Well, I've prepared for it, and this is the last time that will do
Yes,
it.
but this is now the official Maddox Charity Committee, isn't it?
Yeah, but we haven't got the code of conduct prepared for the Maddox charity.
It was already agreed by the full council the Mayor would be chair.
It was agreed.
We did discuss this, didn't we?
Jeff, I'm very happy to
No, you
step
can-
back and
no.
quite happy to leave the meeting.
No,
if
I'm
you
not
would
saying
like.
that. I know you don't. I appreciate the work you've done. I'm just
happy.
saying there's a
You want me to
protocol.
leave
If
the
the
Can I
meeting, no.
remind councillors that the owl is on and
Yeah.
this is not
Well, I was going to say,
best.
Could I say I have not prepared to chair this meeting, so I'm quite happy for councillor Green.
So perhaps we should take a
It
vote.
is, yeah, the protocol is that if the chair isn't here, then the remaining councillors should vote who should take. I propose that Peter Breen
Yeah.
chairs this meeting. Does
Yeah.
anybody want to second that?
yeah, no, I don't mind. It's just
All those in favour, please show all those in favour that Peter Breen's chair.
I just don't. I
for
think
this meeting.
it's
Just
just.
for this meeting.
That's fine.
I think it's a
we can
case
sort
of
that.
the Mayor has sent his apologies. However, not all of us know that he sent his apologies. If that makes sense. So that's why the council agrees to take
Okay.
over. But it was agreed with council that the Mayor will take over.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You're duly elected, Peter.
Thank you very much. We've all got a copy of the agenda. I note that Councillor Wiles's name is missed off the list of councillors to be present.
I have to change that.
Sorry?
I've changed that.
Okay, thank you. So the first item is apologies for absences. Town Clerk, have you got them?
Councillor Dugat, the Mayor, has personal commitments. Councillor Reid, I thought that you have.
I weren't, but I'm here, so you can remove that. So, considering I got bundled in a meeting at lunchtime today.
Yeah, and Councillor Gray is listed on the meeting minutes.
Yeah, that has also been changed.
Okay, the next item on the agenda then is the declarations of interest, to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted. Has anybody got any disclosures to make? Okay, thank you. The next item is to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which were held on the 30th of March. Does anybody have any comments on these minutes?
I'd
Councillor
be happy
Carter.
to propose recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Anybody happy to second that? Councillor Wiles, everybody unanimously approved, so I'll just sign these minutes then. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. The next item on the agenda is for public participation. Sound like, do we have any requests? No requests. So that's that. The next item on the agenda is finance members to receive an update on the investments held by the fund manager face to face and review the investment profile. So I'm particularly pleased to welcome Stuart, who's from Harris All Day and has been working with us for the past 2 years now, is it, Stuart, or so?
I'm not keeping count, but yes.
So the report that we've got two things really to look at as far as I'm concerned. We've got the investment profile summary, and we have your kind of monthly report on the status of the funds. So So which do you want to do first?
Perhaps if we do the report on the funds, and then we can talk about.
Okay.
I brought with me documents which can be distributed as you would like, for visual reference as well. Would you like those now so I can talk through bits and pieces, or how?
It's your call, Stuart.
Happy to distribute it if that's helpful, just so when we're talking, can reference.
Yeah.
There is. I'm trying not to split those up.
Are you happy?
We have
2,
eight.
3, 4, 8.
8 total, so 2, so 6 more.
Why
We can share.
We can
Are you
share.
happy to
We're
share?
happy to
We're able
share.
to share, yeah, or you to share whatever we can share.
3, 4. I think it worked. Oh, if you're happy to share,
Yeah,
We are happy to share.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I will do my best to talk through as the document appears, and obviously any questions, please do fire away. Sort of the front cover is sort of an overview of the portfolio that's currently invested, the value, top left, the income which is produced by the investments, and then the yield on capital which that gives. Just for a bit of context, included performance data year to date as well as over the last 12 months, just for reference. And sort of the portfolio year to date, things have been rather volatile given everything which is going on in the world. It started off the year positively. We got up to the 28th of February, and obviously there was Iran, which came very much to the front of the agenda. The markets suffered, sold off. We went back to broadly flat, and then as there's been sort of noises towards potential resolution of the conflict and potential reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, we have seen asset markets in general rise again, which has been good, and obviously it's helpful to have a bit of tailwind following. Always helps in terms of performance and what can be delivered. So year to date the portfolio is up just a touch over 6%. For context, I've included, or what we like to do is try and get context so you can measure the investments and how they are performing and what they might be expected to do based on how they're invested. We included the two main UK markets, FTSE 100, the largest 100 companies, and then the next 250 is FTSE 250. We've also then included the ARC balance, so that is a benchmark of all of our peers. So everybody in the wealth management industry submits numbers every month in terms of how certain risk level portfolios performed over that period, and then it goes in as an average. So what a medium risk, for example, what a portfolio invested along those lines could be expected to have achieved. These are sort of real numbers that everyone in the industry submits. So it gives a flavour of what we've done relative to our peers, so you can tell if we're doing a good or a bad job. And then at the end we've got UK gilts, so that's UK government debt. They are as close to safe as you can get. They are effectively cash on deposit, I mean they're one of the safer investment assets. So we use that as a context. If you were taking almost no risk, that would be the return you could have expected over a given period. And so sort of there are a broad range of indices which could be used as a discussion point, but given it's a UK focused sterling investment portfolio, we've kind of come to those as the most suitable and appropriate. Obviously we're measured and checked on by our regulator to make sure we're reporting fairly and accurately, and sort of that's something we do or have to do every 3 months, so it's all as transparent as possible. And yeah, that's where we're at. The portfolio has done okay so far for the year to date. I mean, we look at sort of what one good study that we use to try and talk to clients about in terms of risk and return is the Barclays Equity Gilt Study. They produce that every year, and their data goes back to 1890-ish, I believe. Obviously that encompasses a fair few events over that time, and they suggest the real return you can expect from a portfolio of investment assets in equities over sort of an annualized return after inflation would be around 6%. So that's what history tells us, and obviously we can't say history is a perfect guide to the future, but it encompasses a larger data set to be able to, or large enough data set to be able to say it's a reasonable estimate estimation of what we can expect. Markets don't tend to move in straight lines. It is always nicer to be able to report to clients when things have gone well. You are making money, the income is being paid, and things are going well at the moment, but there are plenty of issues sort of out there in the world, most of which are mainstream, most of which sort of it's fairly clear. There's a lot of issues out there, sort of inflation caused by the rise in the oil price, sort of Bank of England. At the start of the year, we were going into the year expecting, or markets were expecting interest rates to be cut. And
just as you're getting on to more general things, I'd just like to kind of go back to this page here, and just some highlights because there are people watching and so forth. So I'm very pleased to see that the value of the portfolio is almost 3.4 million. It's just 6,000 short of 3.4 million, which, because we've been reporting about 3.2 million, so it's really good to see that it's grown. I've got to express a little bit of disappointment that the yield is only 3%, because, you know, I'd like, and when we talk later, you'll probably see we're probably looking for something more like 4% in terms of a yield.
Okay.
Very pleased to see in the year to date it's gone up 6.3%, and I'm very pleased to see that over the 12 months it's grown 15%. You know, so that's really good stuff. Obviously, you're outperforming the FTSE 250, which has grown by 11%, but it's a bit behind the FTSE 100. From our point of view, we're looking, you know, you've got this mixture. It's not just about the yield; it's also about the growth as well. So if we've got a growth in the last 12 months of 15%, and we've got a 3% yield, is that 18% overall?
It's that figure is a total return.
That's the total return, so it includes the 3%.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And that's after all costs.
so it's grown 12%, which is really good to see, because if inflation is running at 4 or 5%, and this is grown at 12% in real terms, it's grown more than inflation. So I just wanted to highlight out some of those numbers. So thank you for that, Stuart.
Perhaps worth saying, sort of, it has been a volatile period. There has been some significant falls as well as some significant re-rises, perhaps, and sort of referencing the longer term returns from a predominantly equity portfolio being sort of 6% after inflation. I would perhaps caution to say that we can't expect returns to, over the following 12 months, to match up to that. If we were looking at an average of 6% a year over a long period, if we've already achieved 6 at this point, there is still a long way to go in the year. It's not to say things can't go higher, but I'm cautious on saying yes, we will continue to deliver that just based on historical.
Every confidence in you at the moment, Stuart.
In terms of the yield as well, thank you. That's very helpful to note. In terms of the total return which is delivered, the higher the yield requirement, that would usually come at the
risk.
Yeah, a little bit more risk, and also likely to constrain the ability of the portfolio to grow, because there are fewer assets being invested in growth assets rather than income assets. So the higher the income yield, the less we can expect it to grow. That's not an issue in terms of how we manage it. It's just something perhaps to be aware of, that capital growth may be more constrained. It's not to say it can't, but it may be more constrained if the income yield is higher. UK gilts, safest investments we can possibly buy at the moment, short dated, and they're yielding just over 4. So that gives you an idea of what we can expect, and equities, UK markets yielding just over 3. So a combination of the two, and we can get towards that figure quite comfortably, I would suggest.
Okay, so do you want to quickly take us
Yeah,
through the rest of the
absolutely.
report? I don't think we need to go through each investment item line by line. But,
If it helps, just while we're still on the front cover, just to say in terms of how the portfolio is invested, just as a broad overview, it's set up on a medium risk basis at the moment, so somewhere roughly in the middle. It's taking equity risk to be able to deliver capital growth, but it's not taking too much equity risk based on owning, we're just a touch over 20% in fixed interest in the safest assets we can possibly buy. So those fixed interest on the two columns on the far left of the bar chart, and the one in blue is the portfolio. The one in red is one of the indices we've used just as a context. The fixed interest assets, they're the ones which are safer, they are the least volatile, and they give the portfolio stability, and sort of when equity markets are rising, you can expect fixed interest to be relatively stable. And when equity markets are falling, fixed interest becomes more interesting to people because they like the safety and the certainty of a return. So as people get a bit more nervous, they like the fixed interest, so they tend to go up in value when equities are falling. So there is a good inversely correlated relationship between the two, and that's why we like to own both of them, because at the moment we can still get a real return after inflation from the fixed interest while continuing to own the equities, which should deliver in the longer term. And so it is all about the balance between those two elements predominantly, and that's an ongoing conversation we can have with yourselves in terms of how much income is required, how much risk you're comfortable taking, and that's sort of leaving a meeting today. It can be one thing, but it doesn't mean you can't take more risk in the future or less risk in the future. So it's an evolving conversation. We're able to be nimble in terms of the asset allocation and how the portfolio is managed, and so it can be done to your requirements within reason. Obviously, I can guide for what we're seeing in markets and where we think the value is, because we are trying to buy assets which we think look good value, and we're mindful of overpaying for assets which we think look expensive. So obviously, there's a lot of hype in America at the moment with AI and technology revolution. Very, very interesting stuff going on, but there is plenty of I think there's a sort of, is it fear of missing out, the FOMO? There's lots of excitement and hype in that area, and it's not to say, I mean, we're a little bit cautious on that just because the price being paid for some of the investments in the US, AI related in particular, is at a premium relative to what they're actually delivering on the ground at the moment. So we are cautious in that front, I think.
But SpaceX is going up in the air.
To the moon, I think.
Yeah, I say this stocks and equities. Do you ever actually buy shares in companies, you know, like Vickers and people like that, you know? Engineering, I worked in production and that, and I think the future of this country is manufacturing our own products, you know. We can't keep importing stuff. I know it's a very good return, but I would like to see investment in our own, you know, companies within this country. I don't know about Rolls-Royce at the moment because, you know, the aero industry is something. But, and it's like petrochemical, you invested in anything, oil shares.
Yeah, so the portfolio at the moment is set up on a collective basis, so it's investing in specific types of funds. So I reference specifically, we are, so on page 3 of the valuation shows what we own in the UK specifically at the moment, and sort of there's a specific pure FTSE 100 ETF which we have, and so this gives market capitalised weighting exposure to the largest UK companies. So Shell, BP, Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, they are all larger constituents of that particular fund. So we have, so doing it in this manner is part of the risk management process, trying to make sure that we're not taking too much risk while still giving the broad exposure to equities. And that's an absolutely a valid point of discussion. If you have a feeling that you would like to own a broadly sort of a diversified group of individual equities, we absolutely can do that for you. We're mindful of not being too concentrated in any one investment, sort of not just from a regulatory point of view, but from a risk point of view. We are mindful of that. So I think that's why historically
we have asked Paris All Day to manage this and for them to select the items. The point you raised about Rolls-Royce shares have done really well, and are, you know, still a buy recommendation at the moment.
I know it's stocks, you know, up and down sort of thing, isn't it? And we're trying to get like a balance. I would say medium risk.
I would say the portfolio, from what I understand, and I'm obviously happy to be corrected, but it feels like it is set up in a sensible way to achieve both the income as well as the potential for the growth as well.
Okay, take us through these other ones.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, so just in terms of what we own in the UK, We've got the largest is the iShares in terms of what that is a fund which owns the largest UK companies, so they're FTSE 100 specific. That has the highest yield of all of the investments, propped up by the oil and mining companies, which have obviously, with what's happened in Iran, sort of pushing the oil price higher there. Cash being returned to shareholders is quite significant in terms of share buybacks as well as dividends. So that's good exposure there. I would say Lord Venture being the largest of the holdings in the UK equity bucket. They have done fabulously well. The yield is slightly less, but they are one of, I believe it's one of the dividend heroes of the UK market, so they've been able to increase their dividend, I think it's for the last 4 decades continuously. So they have a fabulous track record of being able to deliver for shareholders, and certainly if income is one of the specific requirements, we do believe is a good holding. They're slightly differentiated from some of their peers in terms of what they own. So they have a basket of UK equities, but it's also supplemented by the IPS business, which is a law business, a group of law firms which they own, which slightly diversifies their income stream. So it's helped them during financial crisis and during COVID and during the Ukrainian invasion, when markets were under pressure at times of weakness, they were able to continue to pay the dividend, and that's how they were able to sustain it. So they offer something slightly different than purely UK, but this is sort of 75% of the business is UK equities, and the rest is in the law business. It is relatively mainstream in terms of what we own, because we're not trying to be too esoteric in what we're not trying to be too clever and pick the very significant or very singular individual investments which have a higher chance of failure. We're trying to be diversified and make sure we don't take too much risk. The bottom fund, for example, of those holdings in the UK, the TM Red Wheel Fund, that's a reasonable yield. It's gone up on capital as well. The managers are very aware of price paid. They're what we define as a value oriented investment. So they're very conscious of the price they pay, and they're looking to own companies which are trading below their book cost. So they're trying to generate a margin of safety in their investments, and that historically is a very good investment, good management team, returning dividends to shareholders, and we're quite confident in the prospects.
Okay, would you just take us quickly through, you've done some of the overseas, the alternatives and the property and cash, and
so we've
move
got
on from that.
Yeah, of course. And just to touch, just as we get there towards Japan on the next page, Japanese investments have done very well as well. We've got a little bit of European exposure, a bit of value, a bit of growth there as well, trying to supplement both the income requirement as well as looking to grow the capital. As we move down, as you say, into the infrastructure and the alternatives, we have Greencoat UK Wind, so it's UK-based wind farms. Their shares yield just up to over 10%. They've increased their dividend every year since launch, I think it's in 2012. So yes, the yield looks incredibly high, but we believe management have delivered continuously for shareholders. They have a good track record, and we're happy to stick with what they're doing because the results stand for themselves. And we are slightly down on capital, but with the income being produced on the holding side, it's nearly 5,000 below with income, so that is easily helping to make up the shortfall, having been owned for a couple of years. HICL Infrastructure, this is public-private partnerships. They own toll roads, railway stations, hospitals, these types of infrastructure assets, UK and a few in Europe as well. This and international public partnerships, one below it, they own similar assets, but these types of investments pay very good income, usually sustainable as they've proved to be so far, but they're invested in broadly diversified as well, so they're not only reliant on one particular asset continuing to do well. So we like that as a source of good income. And then as we move down, we've got some private equity holdings. So this is towards the more growth end. So this is part of the diversification and the balance we're seeking between the income and the capital growth. So they in there. So Molten Ventures, that's one which of late has done particularly well, which is obviously pleasing to report. Doesn't pay any income, so that's obviously we're mindful from that point of view. But they invest in sort of more technology end focused companies, so software. There are some AI exposures in there. And then coming down to the bottom on the next page, commercial property. It's only about 5% of the portfolio, but again the yields there are fabulous. London Metric, they're invested in logistical businesses, and obviously everyone buying more on Amazon amongst other things these days. They've been a particular beneficiary there. Up on capital slightly, but again the yield just over 6.5%, which is very attractive, and that's continued to grow. Supermarket Income REIT, they own long-term leases for all the big supermarkets, broadly diversified again, not reliant on one particular issuer, and their yield of just over 7%. We have such a great yield there, we're not expecting the capital to do too much. We're not owning it for the capital growth, it's more for the income, but again slightly up on book cost. And then there's a little bit of residual cash there at the bottom.
So you're currently holding 66,000 in cash.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, thanks for that whistle-stop tour through it, but I think I'm very impressed with your knowledge of all of the different funds.
Happy
So
to answer
thanks
any
for
further
that.
questions.
Has anybody got any questions for Stuart?
No, really, I just can't believe I knew Georgina all these years, and I can't believe how well she managed all her investments.
Oh, she was brilliant.
Yeah, she was. She
That's
was herself, didn't
amazing.
she?
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we move on then? Thanks for that, Stuart.
No
Shall we move on then to have a look at the investor profile document?
Yep.
And if I may, could I just, because I have had a look at this and I've kind of got some comments on it, but I think if I just do a whistle-stop tour of this, then maybe after the meeting or in the next few days we can review the document and get it completed and sent to you. Obviously, the investor profile summary, it's no longer Sandwich Town Council because on was it the 18th of May, we actually got it accredited as the Georgina Maddox Charitable Trust. And I don't know, do we have an actually incorporation certificate that?
We have a charitable registration.
Yes, so Stuart, you would probably want a copy of that, will you?
Yes, yes.
So that you can move this over. I think the next section, section A, income requirements, it says state your target income. Now, we as a trustee, once we get going, need to confirm that. But my initial thoughts are that we will be looking for something in the order of £120,000 a year income, and that would be split into 3 tranches. Now, I'm just giving you an indication. This is not until the charity has kind of agreed that and we work on filling out this form. I think that would want to be in 3 tranches. So 3 tranches are 40,000. One quite soon when we've opened the bank account. Another in October, because in November we'll be issuing out grants, and then we'll be issuing out grants in April. So we would want another 40,000 in March of next year. So those are my initial thoughts. Do we have an investment policy statement? No, we don't at the moment. But one of the things that we will be required to produce for the Charity Commission is an investment strategy. And we will be working on that over the next few months, and we'll obviously share that with you, Stuart. Then you want the personal details of the various officers, because this town, the trustee is the council, and there are 4 signatories. One is the mayor, Emmett Suko. The second is the deputy mayor, who sat next to Colin Wiles. The third is the chair of the finance committee for our Tollbridge fund, because we have another fund which is worth over £2 million that we have a different investment manager working on. So you are in competition. And the councillor Ian Black is the chair of that committee. And then for Sandwich Town Council, I'm the chair of the finance and general purposes. So those are the 4 signatories. But next year in May, there will be a new council, and it is possible that there will be some new faces around the table. So if you notice that, those are likely to change. Are there any tax considerations that we should be aware of? I don't believe there are any tax considerations. In section C, you've got the assets and liabilities, and you're showing the value there is 3.9, which includes property of 600,000. The property has been disposed of, and it's incorporated now in that 3.4 million that we've been talking about earlier. So the charity at the moment doesn't own any property. And then on section D, the income, I think, is it committed expenditure? It's because the money was left to the organisations of Sandwich, with the council basically having sole discretion as trustee. So, but we are committed to giving out monies to the organisations. We've given out about 80,000 in the last year, and we plan to do the same next year. So that's why I would say there's about an £80,000 commitment. And then where you ask for the capacity on loss, there is no alternative. There are no other funds available to access. That's the box that needs ticking now. And it would have a significant impact as there are no other sources of income, or the current level of income is required, so that box needs ticking. And it would have a significant impact as there are no other funds to depend on. We're entirely in your hands, Stuart. You're looking very confident. And then the declaration at the end will be, so we will work on completing that form over, and then this form will have to go to the council, and the council meeting is coming up in a few weeks' time, and so we will have to get all 16 councillors to review that. Councillor Wiles, have you got a comment?
Yeah, just on the form, who was responsible for making the decisions on the?
This was the carryover from last year. This is what we had last year.
Just a query on page 3. So it says the objective of the fund is to seek to generate an income stream from your investments. The aim of the investment is generating a stable income yield whilst preserving capital value.
Yeah.
Does that mean preserving the capital in terms of keeping pace with inflation?
Yeah, that's exactly what I understand it to believe, and that's why when he was saying earlier, when Stuart was saying earlier, that in the last year it's grown 15%, and the 15% included 3% actual dividend yield, and so that's 12% growth when inflation's been 4%, so they've done well because they're 8% above inflation.
So the objective is that the capital will always go ahead of inflation.
The objective is the capital should always stay ahead of inflation, so if we keep at 4%, we would be getting 4% of a bigger pie every year.
Because our other charity has been depleted over the years, mainly because I'm not sure to what extent that's down to the capital withdrawals or
It's
it hasn't
principally
performed
down to
withdrawals
the
in
capital
wages.
withdrawal.
So just take out the wages now.
Okay, any other comments?
Can I just clarify, so therefore, how are we completing this document?
Well, we're going to have to complete it electronically.
I can give you a copy. I have copies here if you would like.
A
To do it on a hard copy if you would prefer.
To do it, well,
So
I've
is it
kind
the
of
four
marked my,
trustees, Stuart, or who's?
It can be done on one document, but would need to be signed.
alright, so we don't do it electronically because we're obviously not having the same ticks in the boxes as last
No,
time.
but this is the form from last time, so you will be able to update as you see fit.
So we just overwrite this
Yes.
and send that to you.
So, just, is it that it should be therefore the whole of, sort of the aggregate of the opinion of STC as the entire trustee, or the four signatories? Because I think that needs to be.
It's got to be
The
on
full
all
council.
the full council.
So
Yeah,
this
full.
needs to be put on the agenda for discussion
At the next meeting.
in the full council,
Absolutely.
and then the full council will
It's
decide what the policies are.
I'm happy to work with the three other trustees to complete
To
this,
create a draft.
to create a draft to go to the full council.
That's correct.
Okay, so if the four trustees get together before the deadline for the STC meeting,
Which is next week on Thursday.
yeah, to create a draft version that can then go to the full council.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, sorry, I just want to have that.
yeah, absolutely clear, yeah. Okay. Are there any
That's
other,
the plan.
are there any other questions for Stuart? Stuart, thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for performing well and for the funds performing well, because it's obviously you play a major part in that, and we're obviously pleased to see that.
We
May
will
I
always
ask
do our best.
If you could forward me a copy of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Digitally, because normally we put stuff out before the
Absolutely.
meeting, so what I'll
Okay.
do is I'll attach it to minutes.
Okay, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's that agenda item number 5 is complete, and we move on to agenda item number 6, which is the charity establishment format reports. The first thing is the members to receive an update from the town clerk on the status of the application for registration of the charity. And we have received good news in the sense that the Charity Commission have approved the application. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, we have, I mean, it's very self-evident, the report really. We are live on the website, we have a number, we are a charity. I think, as you can see from the sort of, I included it as being purposefully blank, if that makes sense. There's a lot of information that we do need to complete within the next 10 months on who, what, who, how and where, governance, trustees, financial history, obviously that will come, council, all of this stuff needs to be put in place, but
Yeah.
we're aware of that.
Yeah.
I think the conflict of interest needs to be there in 6 weeks.
Well, that's exactly right. So the conflict of interest policy, I worked out, needs to be submitted to the Charity Commission by the 30th of this month, which would be 6 weeks. And we've got a draft of that. The clerk has mentioned that we need to have some other documents. And you'll remember in the meeting of the 20th of April, I identified, I think, 5 core policies: the trustee code of conduct, the conflict of interests, which we have a draft to review, the investment policy, and the grant making policy, and also the trustee training. And then there are 9 other policies or 8 other policies and procedures: the financial controls, risk management, safeguarding, records, transparency, data protection, complaints, and equality, all need to be prepared. I know we're going to talk about the recruitment of a member of staff to help with this, but in the interim, I think it's important that we try and keep these things moving. So, the conflicts of interest, we've got a draft on that, and the grant making, we've got a draft on that. So the trustee code of conduct is going to be a very important document because it will govern the relationship of the trustees. It will govern whether we have a management committee and who chairs it, and all of those types of things of the management committee. It will govern the rules of the meetings and so forth. So that's an important document. Would anybody like to have the first kick of the ball on that document? Or shall we wait for the clerk, or shall I pick it up when I find some time to do so? Well, I'm very keen to move this along, as you know, and I have been, you know, and I'm quite happy, once this conflict of interest is out of the way, to look at the code of conduct and, you know, to bring that forward. In terms of the investment and the financial controls and accountability, as we mentioned at the meeting, we've got an offer of assistance from somebody who's a trustee of another charity in Sandwich, who's an accountant, and he's offered to help. And with your agreement, I think it would be appropriate to ask him if he could have a look at those two policies, because I don't want to wait to get a clerk or an administrator in place, because by the time they get around to it, it'll be 6 months hence. So if everybody's happy, could we just have a vote on that? Can I mention his name?
No.
No, keep that.
But it was mentioned in the confidential discussion.
Yeah. So it should do an overview.
He would prepare the draft documents just on our behalf, because he's keen to help the charity. So.
Councillor Green, at the STC meeting on the 27th, I was asked to look at professional support on
That's
I don't know, proofreading or checking. Girlings they offered their services for a fee.
Yeah.
What's the thoughts on all these various draft documents?
Well, I think in respect of the conflicts of interest policy, when it goes to the town council, I think we should ask Girlings to review the document. They've given a fee for preparing the documents and for reviewing them. So I think we should ask Girlings, who've helped us so far with this charity, to review the conflicts of interest. In fact, and if everybody's in agreement, maybe we should go ahead and get them to do that in advance of the town council meeting. And if they can do that by a week on Monday or whenever it is.
Does that need to be agreed then? Because I don't think they asked me to go and do inquiries, they didn't ask me to spend money.
Yeah,
We need to have
it's a
plans.
financial outlay, isn't it? So it has to be agreed.
Yeah, well, it's only a few £100, so doesn't that fall within
Unless it falls within
within
delegated
the
authority.
delegated
Yes, but it
authority?
has to be under a budget line, and it's not. So
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
needs
it's
to be-
not under a budget line for Maddox.
I couldn't say at this point. You know, we would have to go. I think it needs to go to town council.
It's the best, it's transparent, isn't it? Transparency.
Yeah,
So-
that I'm quite happy, but in the matter of expediency,
Depends on how much. Depends on how much.
it's in the document.
Yeah.
There's no budget for STC to do stuff like this. So
This
it has
is
to go
not
to the
coming
council.
out of STC's money.
No, that's what I mean. Maddox hasn't got a budget as it's set
No.
for these sorts of things, so it has to go to council to agree.
But we still need to, whether it's STC or the charity, the Maddox charity, we still need to be transparent on where the money is being
We
spent.
don't have Georgina Maddox committee budget at this point. So
But we do have a line item on previous budgets, we've had a line item, because we've been holding cash and we're still holding cash.
yes, but we don't have a line item for spending money on solicitors for approving drafts.
Okay,
So Girlings, have they done their complete budget yet? Could it be tacked onto the Girlings budget?
they've completed their task and they've invoiced their fee.
They've already got the invoice.
So if the council wants the Georgina Maddox Fund to spend, the council as trustee wants Georgina Maddox Fund to spend money on getting Girlings to do this, of course they can do
Yeah.
that, but it needs to be approved as
Yeah, council.
Okay, so we'll put it on, we're going to put conflicts of interest policy forward to the next meeting, and we'll put a recommendation that Girlings are employed to review it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else on these policies and procedures? You also asked other organisations who said they were unable to help. One thing I mentioned earlier is about a bank account, because we're going to shortly be asking Stuart to send some money. I would like to propose that we start making inquiries about a bank account and bring that a recommendation to the town council in the next meeting. So if the four of us, when we're looking at the investor profile, and organisations like the Charities Aid Foundation, they operate a bank. Stuart, would you recommend a bank?
We have clients with bank accounts of all different types, charities as well as.
Or you're not going to recommend Credit Suisse, your owners?
I couldn't do that, of course. No, I mean any major high street lender will be absolutely sufficient. Just in terms of adding it to, just reference in terms of adding it, so we're able to pay money out, a written letter with signature or a telephone call to the office because it's a recorded line, so we'll be able to.
Well, yeah. Well, we would want to put it on the investor profile that these are our bankers and so forth.
Yes,
So we can handwrite it on once we've got an account set up.
Yeah, as a separate document.
Yes, okay.
That would be helpful
Understood.
if possible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to second your proposal about the bank account.
Right, so we second the proposal about the bank account, and what about the charity, the conflict of interest policy and the recommendation about Girlings going to the full council? That's the
I would
proposal.
second that. That needs to be done. It's a one-off cost, so it might seem a bit of money, but it's a one-off cost. We need to be set up and have our governance in place right from the outset.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm happy to second that.
Everybody happy? Rightio. So that is the establishment of the charity.
Could I ask, Joe, when does the charity legally formally exist?
On the 18th of May,
It's in existence.
it's in existence.
So the trustee needs to meet fairly soon.
The trustee should meet very soon.
And the trustee will have to make decisions about appointing a clerk, when it meets, where it meets, etc.
That's, yes, but all of that needs to go into this trustee code of conduct, all of the things about the meetings, the regularity, the delegated powers to the clerk, the delegated powers to any management committee that's in place, the rules, if there is, not enough trustee members available, all of those things. So it's a considerable document that we've got to have prepared over the next 10 months. So it needs a lot of work.
Councillor Green, I'm just thinking about it in terms of charity. Should we be having separate STC as trustee of Georgina Maddox meeting, rather than muddling up Maddox meeting at the next council meeting?
What we have an extraordinary meeting.
Yeah, well, no, a new, now that we have a charity, we should be having a council.
Throughout this
STC.
process, we've made it clear that this charity must be
Totally
completely separate
separate.
So
from
now,
the
now the
council.
meetings
So
need
now
to
we
be-
have to make a kind of iron curtain between the council and the
Well, I'm
and the charity.
very happy for that.
Okay, so
Very
we,
happy.
shall I look for a date that will be suitable and?
By all means, yes, but bear in mind our requirement to get this conflict of interest policy in by the 30th of September or 30th of June, and the need to get the solicitor to review it before it goes in.
Perhaps that might have to push back because,
Well, we can always submit it and then revise it. Okay.
Okay. We can't look for a date.
Right, so that brings us quite neatly to the conflict of interest policy. I've sent, or there is a copy of this attached to the minutes or the papers. I've laid this policy out in the standard that I'm kind of accustomed to. So it's a three-tiered approach. At the top, you've got the policy statements. Then you've got the procedures, what must be done, and then you've got some guidelines as to how to go about it. So if anybody coming to do an audit, they would audit the procedures which support the policy statements. So the policy statements are general stuff, ensure that all funding decisions are made solely in the best interests of the charity. So all of those are standard ones, but there's a couple of ones towards the end which I want to draw your attention to. Protect the integrity and independence of decision-making members of the council by not awarding grants in circumstances where any concerns arise. So if there's any concerns about conflict, a potential conflict of interest, the policy says we're not going to award a grant. This is the draft. Avoid circumstances where the trustee could receive a grant or benefit from grants awarded by the charity, which basically says Sandwich Town Council doesn't get anything directly from the charity.
Like this cinema one, there was one for the cinema, wasn't there, last
Yeah.
time, and we scrubbed it.
And the third, base award decisions on the written applications and associated documents. We don't want decisions made on hearsay. So I think that's those are some very important things. And then it sets out who this policy applies to. It obviously applies to the Sandwich Town Council as a trustee, councillors of Sandwich Town Council, any organisation that we employ to help us, whether they are solicitors or grant-giving organisation. And finally, I draw your attention to this, former councillors of Sandwich Town Council. So if people step down or are no longer councillors, they shouldn't use their influence to try and get things done, because what this is basically saying, if people breach this under section 4.4, failure to declare conflicts of interest will disqualify the applicant organisation for further grants for a minimum of 5 years. So if somebody tries to manipulate something, that organisation is just going to be banned for 5 years before they can submit another application.
What happens if you're a member of an organisation and they want to put in for a grant?
That's not a problem. If
You
you
just have to
declare
declare that
it.
you're, and so when the meeting takes place, for that grant just, so they're aware and then just leave the meeting on.
Well, he said section 4.3 kind of covers the rules. Where a member has an association with the applicant organisation, the member must seek guidance from the chair as to whether the interest, as stated, is of a level that the member must withdraw. So if you're a member of the Art Society that's meeting tonight and they've put in, and there's 150 people in there and you're a member, and you've declared that you're a member of the Art Society and they've asked for 1,000 quid or somewhat, the chair might say, okay, don't vote, because you're a member, don't vote. But it says, where a member is a named applicant, a co-applicant, or acts in the key role for a grant-making
You might be treasurer
organisation.
of it or something.
Sorry?
I think you might have been a treasurer or something.
Yeah.
And done the application.
Yeah, they must withdraw entirely from the discussion and the decision-making process. So that's what this conflict of it. So please read it.
I'm a bit concerned about something you just said. So for instance, if I'm no longer a councillor in this council or no longer a trustee for the Maddox, and one of the festivals, one of the organisations asked me for help as a former councillor to how the process of doing the application form stuff and bits and pieces. If that's known that I've helped them, that I won't be a councillor, so I'm just a Joe Blogs public. I'm not tied down to the council, so that makes it quite. That makes it quite because people are asking for help. You have to sort it out. So that kind of that doesn't sit with me very well.
Right. Well, the spirit is not that you're assisting an organisation. It's not for your benefit. But if you then, hey Jeff, we're putting in this application, from this festival organisation, if you use your knowledge and influence with the other councillors, that's when the conflict really So that's what the intent is. Maybe the wording isn't exactly clear on that, but that's what the intent is.
Because what that's explained to me, is the fact that if you're a former councillor and a group or organisation asks you to help to write out the application form, then if you're seen to be helping them, regardless if you're named on paper or not, they will be banned because it's a conflict of interest. That's what it's worded. That's what I say it's worded to me.
I take your point, I'll look at the wording again, but that's, you understand the general
Yeah.
principle that we don't want people who've been sat around this table trying, once they've left the chamber, to try and use the knowledge that they've gained with other members to influence the other members. Whatever goes on the written application is, and that's not to bar councillors, the intent is not to bar former councillors from becoming part of the committee of organisations, but to stop them from trying to influence the current councillors to look on the grant application favourably.
4.4 about banning them for a minimum period of 5 years. Is that illegal? Is that legal?
Well, no, this is the policy of the charity.
Yeah.
So the purpose of that is to disincentivise people. Hey, listen, I don't want to get involved because you could end up not getting any grants for 5
I'm
years.
just thinking, let's say we have an organisation that, bends the rules, is a bit dodgy, and gets banned for 5 years, and then the whole committee changes to a new committee, and they're stymied by the actions of the previous management.
Good point.
Yeah, understand that. Well, they can make representation, but we've got to try and incentivise. We've got to put in some deterrent.
Yeah, sure.
And we're going to have to put up some fences somewhere along the line, and whether it's to the left or the right. Anyway, those are the thoughts. So, this is what makes this whole business that we as councillors, and acting as trustees, it's a really difficult position, and we really need to be of clear mind when we're doing these things, because I find at times it's an inhidious position.
It is different.
The other point, Chair, just again going back to the discussion, this is a policy that will be adopted by the Maddox Trust.
Correct. Not by the town council.
Are we binding their hands by? Are we seeking to adopt this now, or will it be adopted by the trustee?
We as we've said a number of times, the Charity Commission have asked for us to submit our conflicts of interest policy by the end of this month. So we can agree this as the trustee hopefully by the end of this month and get external review on it. I think we need to get something submitted. If we update it at a later date, that's our business.
But the trustee could amend it in the future.
I was just going to say, Chairman, the policies should be regularly reviewed anyway.
Annually, yeah.
Annually.
Yeah.
So in a year's time, when we've got just the committee, not the councillors, then the committee, the trustee members can then review it and say, I don't agree with this policy or that policy.
So we're doing them a favour by doing work for them, and
In advance.
which comes back to the discussion about should a fee be paid to Sandwich Town Council for the work that's been done.
Well, that's another question. I don't really wish to open that. Okay, so if everybody's happy, if anybody has got any comments on this as it's drafted, if you would be as kind as to send them to me within the next week, I'll update this policy. If you've got no comments, just please let me know. Okay. I think there was, let me see. And then the next item on the establishment of the charity is members to discuss progress on the recruitment of a clerk, which has been something of a priority for us for a while. So you'll see in tonight's documentation that we've got two things. We've got a job description and we've got an advert. I've had 2 comments on the draft so far. The first comment was to say that we shouldn't entitle the role charity administrator, we should call it a clerk. And the second comment on the application was the applications shouldn't go to the mayor, they should go to the town clerk. I'm open and easy, and I'll be directed by the meeting. I'm happy to take your thoughts. I think a clerk is too general. We have a town clerk, we could have clerk to the trustee. I think charity administrator kind of captures the job. I know that other organisations in Sandwich have a clerk,
Yeah, clerk.
and it's been a bit of a tradition. I think we're trying to make kind of a new statement, and by having a clerk to the charity and a clerk to the town, and that was why I kind of went with charity administrator. But please,
No, I think that's a good idea, because as you just quite rightly said, people can generalise, can't they? So they can say, oh, this should be sent to the clerk,
yeah,
not differentiating who's
the
something
town
to be
clerk
sent
or
to
the
the town
trustee.
clerk or the
Charity
charity
clerk.
clerk or who. So this differentiates quite clearly, doesn't it? So.
Okay, so Jeff, are you happy then if we go?
No, it's just I'm on 3 charities and they've all got clerks, that's all.
Should we go to a vote?
Well, shall we go for a vote then?
Yeah, I don't mind, go with the majority.
So I propose charity administrator.
I'm quite happy to second that.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. And in terms of who the applications go into, I kind of put the mayor's name there as chair of the trustees, and I put his name there to try and take things away from the town clerk, although she does a good job. But I'm very happy for it to go to Councillor Duca or to the town clerk with a copy to Councillor Duca. I'll be guided by.
I don't mind doing it, it's in my
Yeah,
interest
I
to get
think,
you.
I think for the acts of transparency, I think they should, in the first instance, go to the town clerk. They
Okay.
should be addressed to the town clerk, and then if the town clerk hands them over to the chair of the committee, then so be it. But
Okay.
it looks more professional, doesn't it?
Right, happy with that? Anybody got any objections to that? No? So we'll do that. Has anybody got any comments on the wording?
I was going to say, who are we doing the interviewing for the administrator? Would it be someone from this committee?
I would have thought so. Councillor Wiles as chair of the HR committee anyway. I think it would be useful to have the clerk there and the mayor there. And I don't think it's...
Just keep it
You
smaller,
don't-
isn't it? Keep
You
it
don't
small
want,
unit.
yeah, but you don't want to swamp an interviewee
No.
with, more than 2 or
And I think it would
3.
be important that they're going to be the same people doing the interviews, because I know they've done interviews before. Someone hasn't made an interview and so another person has been nominated in.
Yeah.
So if there's going to be, say, 4 people doing the interviews, it's the same 4 people, the same 6 people on all the interviews.
Okay,
Because I think that's only fair on the applicant then, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you're right.
So what I was suggesting was we should, use Councillor Wiles, who's chair of the HR committee, to lead it, supported by the mayor and one other. And the minimum quorum being Councillor Wiles and the mayor.
Yeah. And it's always, and there's no other people nominating to take their place.
No, and
We had
the
this
town
before.
clerk goes as well, that's 3 people, as an interview, we don't want 4, 5, 6, 9, 10 people interviewing.
Yeah, so I think it was when they were doing a museum interview once. Someone couldn't make one of the interviews, and so someone else was nominated in, and I thought that wasn't quite right.
Yeah, no, I understand, because they need briefing and they need to have a common scoring chart and
That's
all
it,
of
yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's useful, thank you. All right, so that brings us on to the charity administrator job description. Has anybody got any comments on this? Okay, so the next thing,
Have we got to advertise what the salary would be?
well, I think the salary is going to be negotiable. I think probably in the first instance, it's going to have to be kind of an hourly rate, but I think we're going to have to ask the applicants.
Oh, yeah, it'd be an hourly rate, but just wonder if you know where you'll set an hourly rate,
Well, we
£20
would-
an hour or...
Yeah, we would have to set like a rate that is pro rata to other clerks or administrators, charity clerks or administrators. We could probably get some advice from like the charity commission or
I can certainly use STC
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
document to,
Yeah,
there's a pro forma that I can look at and.
that'd be very
and
helpful.
see.
indeed, yeah. But we should set a range, so it
Yeah.
should be from this amount to that amount, and then depending on the qualification of the person that's being put forward, we would.
So I think you can advertise a job, you've got to put, you know, a salary, a possible salary there.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, for me,
Otherwise people are not going to apply, are they?
my kind of thinking is that people need to be comfortable with what they're being paid, and I think in the first instance, until we've got the website running and we've got all the processing procedures, it's almost going to be a full-time job, but then it's going to drop off to maybe a day a week or something like that. So putting somebody on a fixed salary, for me, I'm just not sure that that's the right approach.
Just put their hours.
Well,
So-
it will be pro rata.
Shall I look for a proposed hourly, if I use my documentation to find a proposed hourly rate that we could bring to the STC as GMCT
Yeah.
trustee meeting?
Okay, that'd be good.
Would that
Yeah.
be helpful?
Yeah,
Would you like to propose
yeah.
that in the job description?
So we're asking the clerk to advise on a salary range type of thing and bring that forward. Councillor Carter's seconding, everybody in agreement. Thank you very much. Okay. Right, so we've finished agenda item 6, we're on to agenda item.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
I'll just, point, not a point of order, but just, was Stuart happy to remain in the council?
We've given them the option.
Oh, right, I'm so sorry, it's just obviously, I didn't know if you were sort of London based or
No,
something.
He's staying in town tonight.
I'm staying tonight.
Oh, right, oh, okay then, sure, I didn't want to bore you,
No,
I
no,
didn't
thank you.
want to bore you with our dirty washing, but.
There's nothing more exciting going on.
So the boss is not based in town.
This is where
What's
it's
on, what's
at.
on the cinema this evening?
Thank you.
So the next item is the interim grant awards. Now, as you know, that we approved some grant awards. I think they've all been paid now, is that right? But there are a number of, within the set, there are a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that we set some conditions that the grants were awarded in respect of certain conditions. And we just need to understand, have those conditions been discharged, and what is the actual process, who's responsible for approving the discharge of those conditions. Councillor Cott.
Yeah, I just had to ask because a member of the public who put in one of these grant applications for Sandwich Town Football Club had approached me and said that they'd had up until about 4 o'clock this afternoon, said that their payments still hadn't gone through.
Yeah.
Could the town clerk perhaps explain what happened there?
Well, it's been, poor John has lost 2 days of his life trying to get transactions through. And Councillor Frank has lost a bit of time too. Yes, what happened was one of the Georgina Maddox grant things, one of the applicants, the bank account looked, it wasn't, but looked peculiar to NatWest. NatWest then rejected the entire batch of payments and didn't call us or tell us. So eventually, fortunately, the football club were alive to the fact that the money hadn't come in. They were obviously, I think they've got quite a pressing deadline to purchase the
Missed it now,
equipment.
actually.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So John spent a day trying to find out what had happened, and then he's reloaded the payments, and then he reloaded them again, and yeah, anyway, it's all gone through today, but it's just been one of those NatWest bankline things. It's been fun.
Yeah, I was just going to say perhaps in future we can, where this occurs in future, perhaps we can get in touch with the recipients.
I have been in touch with him.
Oh, right. Oh, because he was in touch with me earlier today, and he said he hadn't had the payment at all. That was this morning, and then about 3:30 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, he said, oh, I've now heard the payment's gone through.
No, I've been in touch with him. I've been in communication with him about the fact that has been a problem and we're trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But you know, the money went through today,
No,
so
okay.
we've been trying to resolve it.
They were buying AI cameras or something, but there was a deadline. If you buy one get one free, and of course they missed the deadline, so they haven't bought everything.
I'm very
So the offer will come up again. Let's
So,
hope so. They'll probably be cheaper after.
When I spoke to him on the phone this morning, well, I emailed him this morning before all of this. I was in touch with him on Friday. You know, I have been in
okay,
contact.
no, super. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Well, hopefully somebody's put it on their credit card and the club can reimburse it. Okay, so just in terms of the conditions, I think as we move forward in the charity, what I would like to see is the fact that the conditions have been discharged. Now I know for one of them, the mayor, who was scoring and looking at the application, did discharge the conditions because more information as requested was sent in. But as a general principle, I think if everybody agrees, it should be whoever is involved in the assessment of the grants should be involved in approving the discharge of the conditions, because they're the ones that really understand it. So if everybody's happy, can we agree that proposal? Thank you. Okay, and then as we move forward, what I would like to see in the report coming forward is that the conditions have been discharged, and then I would like to see a kind of a column to say, well, have we had feedback from the recipients as to the impact of the monies and so
It
forth.
should all go away with KCF Luther.
It should go away with Kate, but we've given out 25 grants or something like that, so we need to backtrack on these.
We do. But as a charity, we need to be able to prove that the money has gone on to the purposes that meet our criteria as a charity.
Yeah.
So that's very important that we get that feedback.
Yeah, and this is obviously one of the tasks that the clerk or the charity administrators may take. Okay. Anything else on the interim grant awards? Right, thanks everybody. Let's move on to the next item, which the KCF kept as, for Stuart's benefit, the council voted that we should engage with Kent Community Foundation to administer the grant distribution process. So all local organisations would apply to them. They will screen all of the grants applications and then bring a recommendation to the council.
Just for 1 year, isn't it?
Sorry?
Just for 1 year.
I think we said 2. And what's happened is that they have sent through a draft agreement, and what I would like to propose is that a small number of councillors get involved in discussing and negotiating this draft agreement with Kent Community Foundation, and bring that draft agreement then to the actual trustee for approval. And what I'd like to suggest is that we set up a meeting with them, and that a small number of us actually go to their offices, because I always like to, see them and so forth. And so if we can get a small number of people, and I'd like this committee to agree who those people should be. It can be the 4 people that are the kind of the signatories to the investment account, or it can be others. I throw it open.
Yeah, don't include me because I'm totally against this anyway.
You don't want to come to Ashford for a
No, I
day.
don't agree with it. We're going to work with other charities in Sam because I just think we're wasting money on them.
Well, we've had that discussion.
Yeah.
Does anybody particularly want to be involved in this?
Can I ask a question? You said that they will screen the applications and put their recommendations to Sandwich Town.
No, to Sandwich Town Council as trustee of the Georgina Maddox Fund.
So not to this committee?
Not to this committee.
No.
No, oh, yeah.
No, I don't. I think that's not really in the spirit of what
So what
Georgina
is-
wanted.
So you think it should come
Come to
to
here.
come to this? Yeah. Take your point. I think at the moment we haven't actually got the trustee to delegate powers to this committee to review those applications, but we can put it in the terms of reference for this
Yeah.
committee, for the trustee. So we'll do that. Yes,
Yeah,
we'll,
is that
we'll follow
okay?
up on that.
And I don't know if I'm qualified to come, but I'm quite interested to see how they work.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say I'd prefer to see the signatories, because whoever's going to sign this off should be the ones that are aware of what we're actually undertaking. And then if the 4 signatories can't attend, then I think there should be backups. I think Councillor Morehouse was one of them.
Okay.
But it's the ones, I mean, they've got to sign this off, haven't they?
Yeah.
So if they're not there, how are they going to know what's happening?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would like, personally, I would like if between the 4 of us, i.e. the mayor, the deputy mayor, the finance chair and myself, between the 4 of us, if we can agree a delegation to go complete this form to our satisfaction and then bring that completed form to the town, to the trustee, the whole trustee, for them to agree. And it would be down for the chair of the trustee, i.e. the mayor, to sign this off on behalf of
Yeah, oh, definitely. So he's got to be there.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. But then if one of those 4 is not available to attend Ashford, then pick up.
But I don't know that we need all 4, as long as there is agreement between those 4 before it goes to the town, before it goes to the trustee.
Can I just check with Mrs. Roberts that she doesn't, when she wants KCF to report just to the management commission, not to the entire trustee?
No, in the first instance, to report to the management committee to screen the applications or the recommendations. Okay. All right. So if that's,
Presumably this committee will cease to exist, won't it?
unless the trustee decides to appoint
A new one.
a new committee, because the trustee might decide just to meet twice a year to actually go over the grant awards and to receive a report.
That's what would happen.
Yeah. Of course it would.
Yeah, that's going to happen, but the trustee might say, okay, we need to have a management committee with responsibility for managing the charity administrator and dealing with some of the more day-to-day business. And that committee would meet once every 3 months. I don't know.
That would be normal.
That would be normal.
Cool.
Okay.
But it's for the trustee to decide that, not us.
It's for the trustee to decide that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if the trustee wants a management committee, well then, I think what Carol is saying is it would be appropriate for the management committee to review the recommendations. Margaret, sorry, Margaret.
I go by lots of names.
Getting my neighbours mixed up, I
Yeah.
apologise. It would be appropriate for the management committee to review the recommendations, because some of them might be absolutely, hopefully they won't be,
And to make recommendations to the trustee.
correct.
So you're saying this committee's not going to exist then? Like, you're saying this company Ashford is going to take away for the next 2 years, so there's no
No,
reason for this
no.
committee to exist?
No.
Any longer than the town
There'll still be a
hall?
committee to oversee everything. There will still be a committee to oversee what's going on.
They'll do the work.
They said they'll do the work and then they're going to bring it back. They're doing all the donkey work, Jeff,
We have to
and then
find
they're
a
going to
say.
bring it back to us.
I don't like it any of
So
that.
that's the way of doing it.
I know, I know they agreed it, Paul, I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, sure.
Most of it.
Yeah, but I think, for for the trustee just to meet twice a year. There's a lot of interim stuff, the bank account.
I thought we could do quarterly meetings.
Well, that's,
I thought we had quarterly meetings.
we haven't agreed anything. That's why we need to document it in this code.
Well, it's not written down, but I think we discussed, anyway. Okay.
Okay. All right, so are we happy to agree? So the proposal is that the 4 signatories will agree the agreement with KCF and bring it to the trustee for the final agreement.
Second that.
Okay, everybody's in agreement. We're on.
You need to show if you're not.
Well, I've got no cards, I'm voting against. I'm going to vote against.
So we've only done a vote for, we haven't done a vote against yet, have we?
Verbally, you can say verbally.
I've got one.
Well, you've got to share that.
You should say verbally because it's an
Well,
official.
we did, we
vote.
haven't put that, I haven't got the vote against yet, Paul, have we?
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry if there's.
That's
No,
right.
you do the vote for, we haven't got the vote against yet.
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
So, right.
take that vote against me, Mr. Chairman.
Right, so the proposal is that the 4 investment signatories will work on the agreement with KCF and bring a recommendation to the trustee for the whole trustee to agree.
I'll second that.
That's my proposal, seconded by Councillor Morehouse. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favour.
2 against.
And 2 against.
Well, it doesn't sit right with me. We've run this whole fund for 50 years on our own, which I'm sure we can run this
Yeah.
one. Okay.
And the fourth one.
So, who do you suggest should agree the contract or the
That's all we're asking for.
agreement with KCF? Who are you
Well,
suggesting?
yeah, it's up to you guys. You guys,
Yeah, you wanna do it,
you
or
guys
you
want to
do
do
it.
it, so you guys decide who you want to pick as signatures.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Right, so you're abstaining, not voting against. Really?
Well, it doesn't matter.
All right.
It doesn't matter, we've had
I've
it.
always been against it. Sorry, Peter, but I have.
Yeah,
And
so-
I understand, but the council as trustee have said we're going to try them for 2 years. That's
Within your rights to vote.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's a waste of money, in my opinion.
okay. And finally, then we're coming to the review of the action log. The outstanding items, the terms of reference, that's not started. The co-option, I think these can be taken off now because they're all going to be superseded by the code of conduct. Employing a charity administrator, we've moved that forward. And Councillor Carter to discuss with the local schools, that's
Can I
superseded
just
now.
raise that point, Mr. Chairman, because in our last meeting, Councillor Tuker said that he'd actually taken on that role of liaising with the head teachers,
Yeah,
which rather makes me redundant from the process. So I'd be happy to stand down if Councillor Tuker is leading on that, if that's okay with you.
yeah, well, I think it's superseded now.
Oh, that's okay.
So what am I doing?
Yeah, we can just, I think the status is superseded, so it no longer exists. Because he's done that. Okay,
The penultimate one should come off presumably, that's done and dusted, isn't it?
yeah,
There
So
you
they're
go.
all complete?
yeah, so we could really start with a new,
It should be the STC Management Committee. Sorry, the GMCT Management Committee. New
yeah,
action.
if we've got that. So that brings us to the last item on the agenda, which is the date and time of the next meeting, which is set for 2 months' time. Now, I'd like to propose that, I think we need to meet in a month's time, not in
Can
2
I
months.
just ask, we have discussed in previous meetings about a proper memorial to Georgina. That seems to have gone by the wayside.
No, it just unfortunately that got missed off
So,
tonight's agenda.
right, so
Yeah,
Oh, what,
Chair.
it goes 8 to 10?
Can we update Margaret on that?
If I can update Margaret, I
Yeah.
don't think you were at the previous meeting.
no, I didn't get the
But
minutes.
we've agreed to restore the piano fully
Yeah.
and also to rename the gallery the Georgina Maddox Gallery.
Is that it?
And we're going to have
That's it
no,
so
we're going to
far.
have a like a image, like sign on the outside of there with a full picture
Is that,
of
Sure,
where's
sure,
that?
scholarship, won't we?
on the gallery side.
Sorry,
There
what
will
is the
be
gallery?
there are other proposals coming forward.
Yeah.
We were talking about, at one stage, about the area by the town
No name.
notice board,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
well,
still in the
A
pipeline.
proper garden.
Yeah, Margaret, if you were to look at the minutes of the meeting for the 20th of April, we
Yeah,
had
Yeah.
a meeting just to discuss, there's about a dozen different
I didn't get
ideas, and there is a report which just didn't, for one reason or another, I've been away and so forth, but it didn't make it onto tonight's agenda. But I can assure you, you know, we've even got some photographs of the artwork that Georgina did in her own house and stuff like that we want to use, and we've got all of the suggestions about the memorial area, about benches and stuff like that, and the meeting on the 20th agreed that they would delegate that to this committee to take forward actual recommendations so that we can dispense with ones which we think are non-starters and you move the other ones forward. So that's why, and I think it should be on the agenda for
the next meeting.
the meeting next month.
Right, okay, that's fine. It's just that I hadn't heard anything and I haven't seen those minutes.
No,
so.
yeah, no, it hasn't been forgotten, so it is.
Yeah.
in- Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, you did say that we were, instead of 5th of August, you did say a month's time.
I think we should meet in a
We would
month's
need to-
time. Mark, is that,
My apologies, but we've all seen email change in the last few days regarding how busy it's going to be in July. I mean, me and the town clerk had a conversation about deputy suppers being moved to August. That's one of the main things you said to me. That's why deputy supper's been moved, because it's very busy for everybody in July.
No, I thought the deputies couldn't make it. Two of the deputies couldn't make it.
It looks, looking at what we've talked about tonight, it looks to me that the next thing that needs to happen is we need to have the STC as trustee meeting, and that needs to be put in priority so that all these things that we've talked about can be put into action,
right.
and after that, then we have nothing.
Okay, so
I
if we,
mean, but it's not
if
up to me, but that
if
seems to
okay, so then the proposal is that we'll stick with the 4th of July for this, or the 4th of
It's the
August
5th of August.
for this committee, but hopefully in July we'll actually have a meeting, if not before then, or the
Is it the 5th of August?
5th of August,
I've got the 5th.
Wednesday the 5th.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
He said the 4th.
sorry,
Okay, slip of the
just
tongue.
a slip of the tongue.
Do you want me to look?
It's been a long day.
Before we break up, do you want me to have a look in the diary for what
That would be advisable.
So I couldn't make the deputy supper.
Okay.
It's all at the same time. Yeah.
So I think the town clerk's going to come back to
I
this.
think it'd be wrong.
Oh, are you doing that
Well,
now?
I'm getting them up right now.
Oh, okay, that's
No, 1st of July.
I trouble is to get a new deputy.
Hang on.
That's-
Waiting on the computer.
Secretary should know, shouldn't they? You know, right, me to
The problem is, Councillor Franklin, until the civic year starts, we don't know who the mayor is going to be. So as soon as we had that, I went to Brighton Sea and Aldrich. I tried to get hold of SAR, but I haven't heard anything.
No.
They don't seem to.
I think it more or less goes the same, like the 3rd of, you know, what's it in the month, what, you know, so
Yeah.
I think it's just Ford which has lost state clerk.
The mayor of Aldrich is a busy man. He's got a job.
Yeah.
You know,
They've actually got, they have got a new clerk. They've got a new
Yeah,
clerk.
I mean, back something else, I think.
Oh,
I'll change
okay.
that up on.
Unless that's
So-
destroyed your joke. I don't
No,
know.
I had conversing before.
He lost their clerk a long time ago.
Yeah, another matter with the council.
We've got July. So we have right, so Monday the 29th of June could be.
No, I know at least three people that can't go to that.
I-
Councillor Frank
I
is one of them.
I'm not around on the 1st of July, not that that particularly matters, but the 6th of July is out. It could be the 8th of July. We could do the 13th, the 15th.
13th is good.
Can we
And
whack this in an email chain for councillors so we can all decide? Or
then the
Yeah.
22nd. I
13th
think
is good for me.
13th or 15th look good.
13th would be good for me.
Okay, let's work on the 13th because it's a Monday, which is a good
Right.
full council.
Okay, well, thank you everybody.
Oh, before you
Before
close the
I
meeting,
close, is there any other comments?
there was one other comment. I think this committee should show its appreciation to the interim chair
Yeah,
who
beat
has
that very
got
well.
so far, I'd like it recorded in the minutes, a round of thanks to Councillor Breen for all his hard work and determination to get us to where we are so far. So,
Okay, thanks for that.
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Okay.